bodies hold so much trauma from day to day, trying to navigate these systems that are the opposite of healing, are the opposite of connecting. And so when we step out into the outdoors, into adventure, it's pushing against that pace of lifestyle where maybe you're keeping less track of time. Adventure is reconnecting with the liberated self, an expansive self. My name is Samara. I have been raised in what I call a transnational upbringing between all over the West Coast in so-called United States, and also from my ancestral territory of the Purépecha community in what is called the state of Michoacán in Mexico. And now for the last 12 years or so, I've been living on Coast Salish territory. So I have my dad's ashes with me, and then normally on an altar we want to have water to have them drink from, and I also have a picture of like his side of the family, my grandparents and my great-grandfather. And so normally what I do, I am reconnecting to my Purépecha culture, both here on Coast Salish territory with the Purépecha collective that's out in Seattle and around the Coast Salish area, but then also when I get to go back home, I'll spend time with elders and with community members asking them about the land. I think for me that's the biggest question of reconnecting is how can you reconnect when you're so far away from territory, when you're so far away from your traditional foods, and where does that context fit in other indigenous lands? So what does it look like being in diaspora? I think the fact that there's still prayers and ceremonies being done around the sugarcane harvest, the corn harvest, or even water. Water's a big element in our community. There's just so many like festivals or ceremonies across the year that absolutely tie into the outdoors, into the environmental cycles. But because of colonialism that brought in the Catholic Church and Christianity, those get wrapped up into like more religious holidays, like think like Easter or like Christmas, but keeping some of those ceremonies alive, even if they don't call them by their native name or we don't have the language or regalia the way we used to. It's just us trying to survive through colonization with those elements. And so I really see my role lately as a storyteller is asking the community, asking the elders that offer their space to ask them, like, why is it that we do this? You know, why is the saint or patron of our town El Señor del Huerto, which literally translates to the saint of the land or the saint of the harvest? I love the smell of ocote. This comes from a pine that's native down south. Not just my creation story of like the Purépecha people, but just across other creation stories that I've heard, you know, one way or another, we always come from some sort of element of the earth, whether it's we're people of the corn, we're people of the fire, of wind, wherever. And so I really see like these plant ancestors, these like, you know, earth ancestors as our first ancestor. Who you are in a space like the outdoors, who you are when you are in ceremony, when you light fire, when you spend time with water, like that's gonna be, I think, your most genuine self. I think for me that's been part of this reconnecting journey. Reconnecting comes with a lot of imposter syndrome, and so I think when I have those doubts of like, am I doing this right, or am I supposed to be here, am I supposed to be part of the ceremony, I try to sit with, well, what would the earth or the ancestor that I'm praying to in that moment, whether it's water or fire, say. And that's when I feel like they let me know, right, that I'm doing something right, that I am supposed to be here, because they know my real intentions, that it's not to do this for fame or to co-opt an identity that's not mine, but that I'm really just coming home. I'm excited for this chocolate because I got to bring this one from Michoacán, so from back home. And actually, mi tía Lupe was telling me about how they would make chocolate. So they grew up like not even in our current community, like our pueblo, which is really at this point, I guess. I think about the cooking, for example, of me bringing a traditional meal of traditional way of using maize or corn and the beans into a setting like this that is in some ways very manicured, right? We're in a manicured campsite, but before it was a campsite, it was native land that was used for ceremony, that it was used for community building, for anything else. So sometimes you have to just make space to re-indigenize spaces. You just have to make space to bring back the ceremonies.
It's home.
I'm still learning the kind of medicine and how to bring it into recreation spaces, into the outdoors. The healing journey is that I am just okay with doing prayer and doing ceremony outdoors. Connect like this because we are doing this for the future generations. And I just ask permission that I am doing this in good faith and good relationship, and that, you know, one day I might look back and know that I could have done it differently, but I'm coming here, you know, with lots of vulnerability and exposed to just learning and unlearning from the ancestors, from both this land and the ones that I carry with me. When my father passed away last year, I felt a little lost, right? Like a little, like not grounded, not rooted, just trying to make sense of it all because it happened so sudden. And one of the first things that happened when I got back to Coast Salish territory after being back home for the funeral and all that was that I was invited to go to a sweat lodge, or what we call it, the Mascal, down in Muckleshoot territory. That, I think, really sparked that in me, that this is the time the most when I need to tap into spirituality to process the grief. And as a indigenous woman, as a reconnecting indigenous woman, as a fresa de rancho, as a pueblo woman, like the reconnecting to spirituality is gonna have to be hand in hand with the nature part. So, you know, the sweat lodge is a perfect example. Like you have all the elements there with water, with fire, with wind, with the earth. And so it's been, you know, the way I've been processing the grief with the nature has been through sweat. It has been through times like this of hiking outdoors. It has been when I couldn't do a hike because I was just, you know, overwhelmed with the grief at home. It was just stepping outside my door and just letting the sun like feel my face and like know that it was gonna be okay. And I was thinking about this the other day, that I think my father is speaking through me in that way, that like I haven't known how to process the grief sometimes. And it's been through nature that I've allowed myself to like just feel it out and be okay with it. And yeah, I think that's what the reconnecting is free finding the spirit and prayer in the outdoors. I just become so much more spiritual in the last year because I had to, like, because nothing else was gonna hold space for me the way nature and the spirit was going to. I think nature has that expansive ability to hold when we have anger, when we have fear, when we have sadness, grief. Part of our purpose on this earth is to do those things in the outdoors. Like we are meant to be in relationship. And so for me, the healing journey is that just being comfortable, like crying outdoors and feeling comfortable knowing that that's enough. I didn't need to do a long hike. I didn't need to do something super strenuous on my body, but it was just the thought of going outside and allowing for nature to be part of that healing. My dreams about how we perceive adventure in nature is re-indigenizing spaces, and that being not disrupted by all these other systems of oppression. I envision myself one day, if it's in their plan for self-determination, I see myself skiing in a native-owned ski resort. I see myself camping in land that is managed by Native people. people, national parks, but they might not even be national parks, right? They'll be called something else, that are managed by Native people. And that Black people also feel a sense of community and place there because Black people are displaced Indigenous people. I think all people, whether you're Indigenous or not, or just living in diaspora, we all have some connection to land, to environment, because we, again, all have some sort of creation story or some sort of lineage that came from a certain place. And so the idea of green roots is reconnecting with that part of ourselves so that we build a sense of place and we take the time to build a relationship with the land, to steward it so that we can continue having a world that's vast in resources and that all of our needs are met. And it will happen. It is in motion right now, and I see it when women are coming together to pray over salmon, when youth are coming together to learn these things, when we're relearning all these ways of working with the land. Like, it's happening. It's happening right now.